What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1, and we continue our 2025 predictions. The Auburn Tigers are up next. A team that is kind of tough to figure out, honestly. What will the season look like for Auburn? I've seen other people out there making predictions. Some people really high on Auburn. They think they might be a playoff contender. Others maybe not so high, but it does seem like a lot of people are pretty high on this team. For me, though, it's just a team that's tough to figure out. Under Hugh Freeze, they really have not put it together, and so you're kind of waiting to see, is this that year? I'll get into my thoughts on this team, and then we'll get into the predictions. But let's just look back at my predictions from the last 3 years. So I thought they were going to put it all together last year. I had this team going 9-3 last season. They went 5-7. Obviously missed the mark there. Now could they have won 3 or 4 more games easily? Yeah, they did kind of blow some games last year, but again, they did lose those games, and they weren't as competitive, I guess, against Georgia and Alabama as they were the year before. So, it was an interesting team, interesting season last year. Of course, home field advantage is going to matter in those games. They'll have them at home this year. You go to 2023, I had them at 6-6. They went 6-6. In 2022, I had them at 7-5. They went 5-7. So I've been, the last 3 years a little bit too high on this team. But if you go back to, I started doing predictions in 2015. That's when I started on YouTube. And when Gus Malzahn was at Auburn, I correctly predicted their record every single year. It was, since he's been gone, it's just been tough for me to figure this team out. And this year is definitely one of those cases. So when I look at the roster, and here's the schedule, we'll go game by game here in just a second. But when I look at this roster, of course, it's going to come down to Jackson Arnold at quarterback. It's an unknown. We don't know what we're going to get from him. We know he's talented. We've seen flashes of him being a great quarterback, but we've also seen him look pretty bad at times. And was that just because of what was around him in Oklahoma, or is that going to carry over to Auburn? We just don't know. And so it's really a guessing game with this Auburn team. They don't have a star running back, in my opinion, but they've got a really good offensive line. So I think that the run game should be fine, and they got great wide receivers. This is going to be a really good wide receiver unit. On defense, I think the secondary is going to be the strength. I think the front seven will be solid, but maybe not great. So perhaps that's an issue for them, stopping the run against teams, things like that. When I look at this Auburn team, I think that it's going to go one of two ways. I think it's going to be a great season. They're going to be in the playoff conversation, or it's going to be a disaster. They're not going to make a bowl game. Hugh Freeze is going to get fired. That's kind of where I see it going for this Auburn team. I can't figure out which way I would go on that. I don't know which way it's going to go. My prediction is going to kind of be in the middle, because I'm going to go conservative just because I don't feel confident one way or another. But I look at two things that do make me have some confidence with this Auburn team. When Auburn is good, they usually have a really good offensive line, and they're going to have a really good offensive line this year. That's the first thing. And then the other thing is the quarterback. That's the bigger question mark. And I just don't know what we're going to get from Jackson Arnold. The good news is they do have a big-time freshman coming in there who maybe can help out. You've got a veteran in Ashton Daniels from Stanford who has played power level football, and he's a dual-threat guy. So you like your options there if things don't work out, for them to at least be decent at quarterback. And regardless, I think it's going to be an upgrade from what they had with Peyton Thorne. So you get into this first game against Baylor, I think this is going to be a shootout. I think the offenses will have the advantage in this game. Should be a really, really good game. Friday night game. I think Auburn a little bit better at the line of scrimmage. That's going to be an advantage for them. But I think the difference might be their wide receivers. I don't think Baylor's secondary is going to be all that great. I think Auburn's wide receivers will win that matchup. And then again, maybe a slight advantage at the line of scrimmage. All that adds up to a win for Auburn. But I could absolutely see this game being a loss. And I really think that this is the game that is going to determine the season. I think if Auburn wins that game against Baylor, they're going to have a good year. I think if they lose, I think it's going to be a disaster. So I do think that game will tell us a lot. You've got Oklahoma coming up next on September 20th. This will be a tough matchup here. I'm really high on Oklahoma. Oklahoma's secondary might be the weaker spot of their defense, but I still think their defense is going to be really good. I think Auburn's, again, receivers, maybe give them a chance there, but I don't think it'll be enough. It'll be very interesting seeing Jackson Arnold go back to Oklahoma. I think it's a competitive game, but I just think Oklahoma's too good. I think this is a really good Oklahoma team, and I think their offense will be clicking in this game. Their run game with Jaden Ott and the other backs they've got, I think Oklahoma's offense can do enough to win this game. So I'm going Sooners there. Then you've got Texas A&M. This might be the game I feel least confident about on the entire schedule for Auburn, just because it's a revenge game. It's the second of back-to-back road games. It's a really good Texas A&M team. I just don't think Auburn matches up well in this one. I think Texas A&M, they win this game fairly easily. Again, that's the one game. If you're telling me, you're looking at the schedule and saying, what's the one game Auburn is just not going to win? It's Texas A&M. I just do not see them winning that game. I think every other game it's possible they could win. And again, if things go really well and they're in the playoff conversation, they're going to win most of these other games. But that A&M game, I just don't feel good about it. So I'm going Aggies there. Then they get a bye week before playing Georgia. Again, we've done predictions for several teams, so you've already seen my predictions for a lot of these games. But you've got Auburn coming off of a bye week. You've got a Georgia team that I do not think is going to be as good as some of the teams they've had in the past. I think it's going to be, a top 10 team, no doubt about it. But they're not quite that elite team. Maybe they prove me wrong, but that's just kind of the way I see it right now. And we know this game's a night game. We know about Jordan-Hare Magic. I think the defense for Auburn plays really, really well in this game. 2 years ago, they had a real shot to beat Georgia. They were very competitive in that game. I think that they're able to pull it off this year. So I'm going Auburn to upset Georgia, and that gets them to 4-2. Then you got Missouri October 18th at home. Revenge game. They kind of blew that game last year. I think this is a lower scoring game. I think both defenses will have some advantages here, but I think playing at home, Auburn has enough. But you do watch for this. You watch this game coming off of, if they do beat Georgia, a letdown. Perhaps we'll see. But I think they win a close one against Missouri. But then you got to go play on the road at Arkansas. After these two big wins, I could see a letdown here. Arkansas is a team that I think really doesn't have anything that just wows me, but they don't have really anything that worries me. They're kind of just a solid team. And a team like that, they can win on any given Saturday if they're playing their A game. And I could see Auburn going on the road here and again, having that letdown game. I'm going with Arkansas to get the win here. So Auburn falls on the road in Fayetteville, but then they play Kentucky on November 1st at home. I don't think Kentucky's going to be very good. This is a team that Auburn actually beat last year, so I think the Tigers take this one. They get to 6-3. Then you've got Vanderbilt on the road after a disastrous offensive performance from Auburn last year. I think this year they'll be more prepared. Again, I think Jackson Arnold is going to be an upgrade at quarterback. Maybe I'm wrong there. We'll see. Diego Pavia kind of owns this Auburn team, but I don't see it 3 times in a row. I think Auburn gets the win this time, and they get to 8-3 after beating Mercer. And then they'll close things out with Alabama in the Iron Bowl. It's in Jordan-Hare. It's the Iron Bowl. It should be a close game. It should be a fun game. It pretty much always is, even when Auburn's a huge underdog. If they're coming in with 3 losses, would they still be in the playoff conversation? I'd say yes, especially if you have wins over Georgia and Alabama, and you win 5 straight at the end. So I do think there will be playoff implications in this game. I look at the two teams. I think Alabama's the better team. It's going to come down to, Ty Simpson at quarterback. How well is he going to play at this point in the season? You would expect him to get better and better as the season goes along. They have some other, they're kind of like Auburn. They've got other options if he does not work out. It's a tough one for me, but I think the secondary for just the defense overall for Alabama will be the difference here. I'm gonna go Crimson Tide, I just don't know that Auburn beats Georgia and Alabama in the same season. So maybe that flips around. Maybe they lose to Georgia and they beat Alabama. But I've got them at 8-4. Like I said, I think this team, I really don't think they go 8-4. I think they're probably more like 9-3 or 10-2 or like 5-7. That's just kind of my gut feeling. But I don't feel confident enough one way or the other to really go with that. So that's why I kind of wound up in the middle here. I do think they have a chance to be much, much better than they were last year. And if they can win some close games, it could be a really good season. So, yeah, this is a dark horse team for sure. I'm not going to go out there and say they're going to be a playoff team, but I think they could finish in the top 25. But like I said, it could go the other way. The season could be a disaster. I'd love to know what all of you think, because I've seen some people really high on Auburn. And I get where that's coming from, but I don't trust Hugh Freeze enough. I haven't seen it yet. This is really a prove-it year for him at Auburn, so we'll see what they do. But, yeah, give me your predictions for this team down in the comments below.